we'll talk about Candace Owens and Andrew Tate and all these other people. You know, all of just who you would expect to subjugate themselves to be part of the Russian propaganda machine. Like, nobody that's particularly surprising. What I instead want to talk about is why I got people in my replies, why I am completely fed up with the I was about to say the polycula Twitch. You know what? There's a lot of those too, but the parasociality of not only Twitch audiences, but to be completely honest with you guys, even Twitch streamers. I need to talk about the problem that is Dan Clancy's, the problem that is Twitch's itself, and the problem that is their inconsistent TOS moderation that has now touched the bounds of the Russian invasion of Ukraine by giving people who are directly contributing to Russia's war machine and using Russian teenagers to do it. They're doing that right now, and they're able to do that on programs across, you know, across the streaming world, across the broadcasting world. But in the majority of those places, not everywhere, but the majority of those places, they were taken down and a lot of those streamers were punished. Now, if you're on a Russian streaming site, of course not. If you're on some very niche alternative streaming site, okay, maybe not. But when you talk about TikTok, when you talk about, you know, many streaming platforms, most of them gave them quite aggressive enforcement. In fact, you could see right here, while they're talking about it in the title here, Russian TikToker breaks down after account is banned for promoting Alabuga Polytech, which is a facility that uses teenagers and youth in order to build drones to bomb Ukraine. That's what this facility is. One of the things that this university does, that the program that they were promoting does. And so it's really one of the most depraved parts of the Russian war machine, and is directly contributing to these mass attacks on Ukrainians. Anyway, here's her crying about her getting banned for getting involved in the war machine on TikTok.
Плохо последнее время. Все чувствовала. Я пыталась это всю энергию свою вылить на ТикТок. Я так хотела этот грёбаный миллион подписчиков. Я просто опять начала всем этим жить. И мне опять... У меня опять забираются эту возможность. Я уже просто ничего не хочу. Вообще ничего. Сдохну в нищете просто.
Thank you for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs, Addy. I don't know what inspired you to gift those, but I appreciate it deeply in my soul. First thing I'll say about this woman is, number one, I do think her eyeliner is applied incorrectly. I don't think that is how it's supposed to look. You can see it's multiple posts. Secondly, don't participate in a war of aggression against Ukraine, and then don't get banned. And I just want to put out there that just because, you know, you see videos like this does not mean that these creators wouldn't do the exact same thing again, given the chance, or that like a year or 2 years down the line, that once, you know, it's no longer getting the mass media attention, these types of things will be looked the other way upon. I mean, this got like next to no media attention, and compare that to the amount of media attention that the U.S. Army being on Twitch and like them getting banned and like the constitutional question, that got so much attention. So many reporters talking about it. This got relatively very little attention besides some small places on like pro-Ukraine Twitter and a few small outlets. And so in a few years, 3-4 years down the line, as we're already seeing different sports organizations like welcome Russian athletes back, do you really think that these streamers are going to get like brutal punishments if they do it again? And let me just tell you, the ban that they got now on TikTok, permanent ban. On a lot of these platforms, permanent ban. Twitch, though, was out of standard. They gave 3-day bans. 3-day bans. 3 whole day bans. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. To be clear, that means that if you got banned on Friday morning, and you're like, oh gosh, darn it, you helped blow up a kid or two, and then all of a sudden, You get banned. Bummer. I guess that kids to blow up kids program really was, oh gosh, not TOS friendly. Well, at least I can be back to streaming on Monday. I can take a 3-day vacation. Heck, if they had the weekend off, it just means they lost Friday. That's nothing to a streamer. A 3-day ban is nothing. I remember once I got a 3-day ban, and I just the 3-day. What is this? It's a 3-day ban. What do you know what this means? I can do. I can go and I can go play. I don't know, Gary's mod. I can go play. Well, I wasn't playing Gary's mod when I was streaming. That's from way before when I was. I'm gonna go play. Voltero. I'm gonna go play something else. Just to go play games or go work on an article, do something else. They got a slap on the wrist. That's what you would call it. You would call it a slap on the wrist for directly participating in a war of aggression that it's clearly against TOS. They got banned, so it's not like, oh, oopsie doopsie. They fell through the cracks and we didn't know what was going on. Twitch staff was made aware either by social media users or people reporting the stream. They were made aware. They did a mass ban. They just decided that it's worth 3 days. Mind you, and this is what originally got me really heated about it. There's a streamer called Buckowen1, right? He's a Danish streamer. He follows me, so obviously, in some occasions, he's a man of taste. Okay? A man of taste on occasion. Okay? I can't tell you what he thinks about what's the best crab on the planet, obviously blue crab, or what's the right way to make a burger or a pizza. So I can't tell you everything on whether or not he's completely civilized, but at the end of the day, he follows me. Joking, of course. That's not important. What is important is that he was on his stream and he said that during World War II, at the end of it, America should have dropped 1 nuke on Japan and 1 nuke on Moscow, right? Now, mind you, he's Danish and the Russians are engaged in the largest war in Europe since World War II that has displaced a lot of people. And Russian chauvinism has been alive since Catherine the Great today, and it didn't die a single day in that period. Sometimes it shrunk a little, sometimes it grew a little, but it was alive during the entirety of that period, including during the Second World War. Now, I disagree with what he said. I am not a Churchillian, like, let's keep the war going. I don't think there would have been domestic support for that. I think that people wanted recovery. I think it would have meant who knows how many countless more dead. People can war game that out all they like. We really do not know how that would have gone. We don't. But we also did not have atomic weapons in quantity at that point that we could have just keep yeeting them at there's a scenario that we start that fight and then at the end of it, like, the Soviets control all of Europe. There's also a scenario where they don't, but like at the end of the day, I don't think it's a good idea. And I think that obviously nuking a gigantic civilian center like Moscow, where a lot of displaced people had moved to, I think it's wrong for a bunch of reasons. Now, he got a permanent ban, as in bye-bye, sayonara. You might be able to apply again in 6 months, like reapply, see if it'll get checked, but likely you'll get kicked down the can. Goodbye. Mind you, he has been the largest Hearts of Iron streamer, like content creator, for a very long time. He's been one of the largest, or at certain periods, the largest, right? So that is a game that has had a pretty dedicated community, and he just got yeeted over this for like goodbye forever. Now, I disagree with what he said. I wouldn't have said it, right? Okay, what's the thing that I've seen all the candidates do next to Hassan? Disavow. Whatever. I disavow the statement. Guy, I don't know. His videos are decent. Now, I can say that and also say that a statement about a war that ended over 80 years ago, where it's not like we can drop the nuke now. Oh, throw the nuke through the time machine. You can't go back in time and do the damage.
Patton was right.
You can't. Thank you for the $20. I think Patton had aggressive views about the Russians. Marx had aggressive views about the Russians. There's a lot of ideological unity across the spectrum about Russian chauvinism and the Russians, that for both bad and good reasons, that did not view how the Russians tend to occupy different countries as positive. But Patton is kind of like one of those war gods where you come into existence, you just like go, you fight the war, and immediately after you're called back, goodbye. Because if you would have ever gone into the political scene like MacArthur did, MacArthur didn't have the charisma to really get anywhere. Curtis LeMay was kind of openly viewed as a nut job. Patton, who knows, but he was taken before he could have gone into public and said what he really thought about Jews. So, you know, I would say when it comes to his general remembrance in the history books, I think that his legacy might have been helped by the fact that he didn't get to keep opening his mouth on post-war politics. Or maybe he would have immediately just went to Korea and, you know, he would have been a million years old and just never stopped. Like he couldn't get off the horse, couldn't get off the tank, I guess in his case. Either way, at the end of the day, it's a statement that hurts nobody in modern day. There's no nuke. Like you could say, oh, there's a question about the type of things you normalize, but nobody got hurt. There's no direct contribution to a war effort. You know, people understand the context as to why it's probably being sent, considering Russia is the #1 killer of people on the planet in a war right now. Like they in the amount of people that are dying, there is no deadlier war on the planet than Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It is killing the most Russian speakers on the planet, regardless of why they said they launched the war. It is displacing more people than any other conflict outside of maybe Sudan currently when it comes to the amount of people displaced in the period of time it was conducted. It is over I don't believe it's over the widest territory because there's a question over Sudan, but there's a lot of check marks that, you know, for the amount of damage that is being done here, and to directly contribute support. 3 days. This statement forever. Goodbye. This job you've been doing for the longest time ever. Goodbye forever. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Enjoy kick.com, Bacohen. Have a nice time. For me, it didn't make any sense because there's no consistency in Twitch TOS. And so what that means is ultimately I look at this as if this is a reflection on moderator priorities, right? The bad word, the bad statement, you know, the gamer language, the wrong thing being shown on stream. These are all things that could, depending upon which group they offend or how the moderator felt, like depending upon all these different things, can depend upon how sizable your ban is. And somebody felt really bad about Bacohen in this World War II video game talking about dropping a nuke on the Russians in World War II years after the fact. Mattered a lot more than the actual direct physical contribution to blowing up Ukrainian homes and burying families in those homes. Like there's record-breaking air attacks on Ukraine every day. It might not be in the news as much as it used to be. It might not be driving the API and like, you know, really like getting the clicks, but the war is very expansive. It's still very deadly. It's still very terrible. And so this show of Twitch moderation priorities, it didn't feel right with me. It didn't feel right with me. And so I wanted to make sure that I kept putting this kind of idea into the cosmos, that I think that if you're directly contributing to the deadliest invasion force on the planet today, right now, if you're doing that right now and you're using teenagers to do it, I mean, we're talking about like 16-year-old like programs, like we're talking about some crazy stuff. You should get worse than a 3-day ban. Would I be so bold to ask for 7 days? Would I be so bold to ask for 2 weeks? Would I be so bold as to ask for months or years, or for that to be permanent if direct contribution to war crimes today isn't permanent, but talk about war crimes or potential attack in the past, that is permanent. To me, it doesn't make any sense. And it's the lack of consistency that's annoying. And so I wanted to keep throwing stuff out into the ether. And so I made a tweet, and I made this tweet on position outside of Konstantinivka, around the Druskivka area, okay? I don't know if it's not important to map it out, but just like to understand, like I'm out there, I'm thinking about, you know, like I'm waiting between shots because there's so much heavy drone activity between like the missions that they're trying to do, you know, sending ground drones into Konstantinivka, you know, like anti-drone activity, trying to like move Mavics over to other teams, like just doing a lot of work that I find interesting, important to document, you know, seeing how they live their lives, et cetera, seeing how you get in, how you get out, both on vehicle and on foot, trying to do all this work. And so I put out this tweet into the ether, into the space, and it's a simple message. Today is a good day to remind everyone Twitch, hello Dan Clancy, gave streamers who support it and advertise the Russian war machine 3-day suspensions, while creators who say the wrong word or show the wrong content get bans lasting months or years. Twitch cares about market share over ethics. And then I, you know, go away and do whatever. You know, I am on position, so I'm going back and responding to things intermittently, but you got to understand that I've got other things that are distracting me, right? And it was a particularly hot in bed. And so I would say that, you know, I was trying to, you know, concentrate on work is a good way to put it. And then
I get
replies. Thank you for the $5. 3-day ban, but the ban keeps going as long as the war keeps going. I think the ban should be for as long as the war is going, at least, if you were to ask my opinion. But obviously, you know, I am not Twitch mods, and maybe like there's like a 3-day bomb kid rule. I don't know. Anyway, here is the type of comments I got. Dylan, you know Destiny and Dan aren't banned for saying the wrong word. Lamau, come on. Of course, Mike from PA. I say, you know, it's about a Russian defense company. It's about a Russian defense company. Streamers deserve perma bans more than anything else. Even if I agree, if, what a weird if. What a weird if, but who knows? If that is irrelevant to the question of whether Destiny should be banned. I'm like, oh, this tweet is not about this. What is going on? What is going on? Right? And you can see Destiny's unbanned, Destiny. And I'm like, what is going? Destiny was unbanned. Destiny was unbanned for 10 minutes. A grand total of 10 minutes. And Dan Clancy said, and I looked into it because people were, you know, pelting me with Destiny. I looked into it. He was unbanned for a total of 10 minutes. And after being unbanned for a total of 10 minutes, he was rebanned. And then Dan Clancy commented on it on his weekly stream. I don't know how much comment this got, by the way, 3-day ban. Saying it was a mistake that he was to be rebanned forever. I mean, he didn't say he would be banned forever, but he was like, it was a mistake. It was reversed. And within 10-15 minutes, he was rebanned, right? There's a bunch of allegations floating around about like who made that happen, or whether it was it an angry employee on the way out? Did like Hassan and Co. like text Dan, but Dan denies that anyone tells him like who to ban. But then other streamers have talked about like, wait a second, like I have asked him to do X, Y, and Z, and Dan, he's been responsive. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't care. That wasn't my focus here, right? Like you might say it's like interesting from like a TOS general standpoint to like whether or not Twitch upholds a standard or if there should be a thing such as a permanent ban on the platform. But this wasn't what I was talking about. But people were so caught up in like the parasociality about like whatever streamer they didn't like that immediately this is what it became about. And like as I try to redirect the conversation over to talk about like children blowing up, all I get is like, so, but what about Destiny? What about Destiny? Could you answer about this streamer, X streamer? Who cares? Who cares? Okay, you think I want to know what a snarker is? I have no interest, zero interest. You could not interest me at the end of a double barrel shotgun to know what a snarker is, whatever it is, right? It's just completely uninterested to me from the position that I'm sitting right now and what I'm trying to like make the like what I talk about, you know, what I care about. I just don't care, right? And so I put this out there, and immediately it becomes about a totally separate individual, and it's really hard to readjust it. And there's a few things that were annoying to me. Okay, number one, right? I don't know why that's your main focus here, or could be anybody's main focus here. Any streamer, anybody else, like Hassan, Asmongold, any of these people, anybody who has been banned universally, whether it's Hassan, Asmongold, there is no person, no people more deserving of longer term bans than those directly engaged in this type of war. Whatever ban Asmongold, Hassan, Destiny, or any streamer that has ever existed, right? Basically every single one, unless one, except for the people who have done like school shootings with their account, are not as evil as those who directly recruit for the blowing up of Ukrainian infrastructure and burying the people in their homes. That and recruiting from the youth, like young people, to do that in a very like desperate economic situation back in Russia right now. So to me, like, if you wanted to make it about that, like, I could say it's anybody, really. It would be anybody. But it becomes about this person because it's like, it's the pick. It's the streamer they do not like, so it becomes about this person, right? If this was around, like, a date something happened around Asmongold, or if I had talked to Asmongold in the past, or same thing, honestly, if it was Hassan, there'd be a group of people talking maybe in that, who knows? But it's just so unbelievably parasocial that people like lose the forest for the trees, like, entirely, and they can't see the big picture here. And it completely like blew me away, because like, what about Destiny? What about Destiny? What about Destiny? Who actually cares? I'm talking about kids blowing up. What about go fuck yourself? Like this, there's a war going on. Who cares? I don't care. I'll never know what a snarker is, and I will die perfectly happy not knowing what a snarker is. I am not interested, okay? What I'm interested in is talking about this. Now, if you want to have a conversation about X, Y, or Z, you can do that on your own time, on your own issue. This was only important to you because of the possibility of it being about this person. Outside of that, there's not a peep about it, right? And the accounts that are asking about it is not accounts that like know or talk about the human safari. It's not like accounts that this is like a big issue for them. And so I have to assume that like this like outweighs their level of priorities because this like occupies their headspace more. That has to be the assumption. And I'm going to be honest with you, Hassan, Asmongold, Destiny, any political streamer in existence, none of that should occupy your headspace more than the deadliest war ongoing on the planet, especially when the message is about how the platform that you broadcast on is giving slaps on the wrist for people directly complicit in those crimes, directly complicit in like the war that's going on, morally complicit, absolutely 100%, right? Like, it's not like you can put every single factory worker on trial, but like, you work in the, come on, like, I know like Hassan Piker has like actively like cheered on the attacking of like British war aircraft on his stream. Like, the politics around this on the platform has sometimes gotten like pretty aggressive and radical to the point where Hassan's not even welcome in the United Kingdom with like through a visa, at least a longer term visa stay like that. Like, we're talking about people directly recruiting youth for the war. Like, this to me is a very simple moral question, but it's gotten completely consumed and subsumed by the parasociality of the internet. At least in this moment it was, and that really affected me. And this makes me think that my pivot to doing more serious journalism, like, it's something that I'm kind of happy with, because I could not imagine this preoccupying my time. Caring, actually, like this would be like my main thing. Like, if you don't like a certain streamer for any legal, moral, ongoing case, immediate policy disagreement, for the literally the worst beliefs on the planet, okay. But if it's preoccupying your time to the point where like that deserves the platform more than the people being displaced by the war, more than those supporting that, and the fact that the platform we're on is like treating it like it's not that big of a deal, you've completely lost the plot.
Black Pilled Kiwi has donated $5. Streaming as a medium is a tar pit for parasocial type viewers. That's why I like you, Dylan. You have justified disdain for us. Take my money.
You can, and you take my justified disdain, Black Pilled Kiwi. You take my justified disdain. Admiral Gibbs, thank you for the tier 1 sub. one of the good right-wing debate hosts. Always like getting invited to a good program to talk about people I disagree with. We're going to be having that conversation in a bit. I mean, like a debate about the war and such. And, you know, I sure hope that in this debate, I don't get asked like, well, what about X streamer? What did this streamer say? What does that streamer say? Like, come to some conclusions on your own. Don't care so much about the personalities when talking about wars. Let the people that are being affected be what grounds your position, what grounds your decisions. Not like, oh, well, this annoying person on Twitter had this flag in their handle, so now this is my belief about war. Or, oh, well, this is aesthetically displeasing. Or, oh, this is my belief because X streamer likes this side or X streamer doesn't like this side. Or, oh, I let my feed decide my opinion. Or, you know, oh, I let somebody who just like dug into the war's details yesterday completely inform what I believe. Like that's the extent of the coverage I get. And I'm not only gonna let that be what informs the extent of my knowledge, I'm now gonna talk to other people as if I know something. Like, just be more discerning in the content you consume, be more discerning in what you post, and please don't let the parasociality of it or the personalities of it disconnect you from the humanity of it.